One of the biggest encounters that shook India was the Batla House encounter, which took place in 2008. A series of bomb blasts taking place in the national capital. A lot was spoken about the famous or the infamous special cell of Delhi police. With me, the man who was bang in the middle of it, the man who was leading this entire operation in 2008 to nab the culprits, the terrorists who were responsible for these bomb blasts in Delhi. Mr. Karnail Singh, thanks very much, Karnail ji, for joining us. Welcome to India Hit, sir.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking at your book, sir, and let me just hold the book as well, just for the benefit of all our viewers. It's a very lucidly written book, and it's as spacey and as factual as it gets. So let me straight away come to the point, Karnail ji. Why did you choose to write this book? Is there something about what happened in 2008, sir, which still sometimes haunts you, bothers you, and you still believe that the facts of the case have not come out properly?
See, there are various reasons why I penned down the book. The one is I have tried to bring out the stresses which the police officers face or any security agency face while handling the terrorism. Then I have also brought out some of the inadequacy of the legal system which we are having. Then the lack of political consensus that I have brought out. And I feel that there is a need for effective and truthful communication between security agencies, investigating agencies, and the media. Besides that, what is the role of Pakistan? I have brought all these out in this, and that was my aim to write the book.
I went through this book in great detail, sir. And I find that you've given very graphic details of what you were doing personally, how you were trying to spend time with your son, who was then 13. And then when the news came, all the way to the investigations, the encounter itself, and then the subsequent political activity. 12 years is a long time in life, sir. This happened in 2008. We're talking about now in 2020. With the benefit of hindsight, do you think the reason why this encounter at Batla House got so much of traction is because of straightforward political position that was taken by the political opposition at that time, that this was a fake encounter? Is that the reason why this encounter became such a big talking point?
See, one reason I agree, because at that time elections were coming. There were elections in 5 assembly areas, and the parliament elections were also to be there. So certainly, because we don't have the political consensus on terrorism, various factions, they believe in vote bank politics. That is one of the reasons. The second reason, I feel there was a communication gap between us and the media. And as a result, the rumors mongering that surfaced in the media publications.
Let me take you back in time, sir, because this is one case which I myself followed very, very closely. And our team of reporters was reporting on every minute twist and turn associated with the case. You would remember, sir, there was a time when Digvijay Singh, who was then a powerful general secretary of the Congress party, he did a press conference showing a sketch. And he said, your officer, the Delhi Special Police Officer, Special Cell Officer Mohan Chand Sharma, who unfortunately ended up being martyred in this operation, that this was a case where he was encountered by his own colleagues and he was trying to show evidence. I just want to know, what was Karnail Singh going through at that point of time when you looked at that visual?
See, you feel tremendous pain when somebody talks of that within the team, someone killed him. This team had been working together for a very long period. These 7 men who had gone, they have gone for various operations. Mohan Chand Sharma team had arrested a large number of terrorists and criminals, and there were many encounters also with this team. Never anything such happened in the history of the special cell. They were officer against officers. Secondly, the evidences which they are talking, like 3 bullets fired at the back of Mohan Chand Sharma. Post-mortem report says totally entirely different story. 2 bullets, that too from the front side. And this was very well covered by the NHRC report. Similarly, the terrorists did not fire at the police. A test known as dermal nitrate test was conducted by the doctor on the hand wash of both of them who died, that is Atif and Sajid. And CFSL report indicated that there was a gunpowder on their hands, which clearly indicated that those two people had fired on the police party. So based on totally no evidence, somebody talks, you feel pain about that.
Explain to me, sir. In India, I can take you through various encounters which have taken place. Why is there this perception, Kunalji, that when an encounter takes place, which is very different, by the way, now, as we've seen with what has happened to Vikas Dubey in UP, where he was encountered, and there was a collective sense of relief, or what happened in Hyderabad, when two rapists were encountered, and again, nobody questioned the police personnel the way the police personnel were questioned maybe when you all were looking at the special cell. What does this tell you, sir?
See, even at that time, if you see the public perception, it was different. Whether the larger public perception comes to media or not, that is a different issue. But the basic question is, there is a systemic approach. If any encounter takes place, today there are various mechanisms. One mechanism is the NHRC reviews that. There's a SDM inquiry. The third is the investigation of the encounter is done by the agency which has not done the encounter. And that report goes to the court, and where the judicial scrutiny is done. So many checks and balances are there. But still some people who have vested interest, without verifying the facts, they come out that any encounter is genuine or not genuine. I feel that is incorrect. The people who are saying that it is not genuine, they should first go through the evidences and then should talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm trying to get at, sir. There is a feeling that when a police encounter takes place, and it's not just restricted to the special set of Delhi police, when a police encounter takes place, obviously there is mystery around it. You don't want to reveal your investigations. You don't want to reveal your leaks. But that mystery, that lack of transparency ends up becoming attributable to some vested interest or some motives. How does one deal with this kind of a scenario?
See, one has to be transparent about that. On the one side, the facts should speak to itself. For example, in this particular case, there were post-mortem reports, one of Mohan Chand Sharma and another of two of the terrorists, that is Atif and Sajid. Now, one of the media having a paper in the hand saying that this post-mortem report says there are 3 bullet injuries at the back. And then the conspiracy theory comes. Now, this type of reporting has to be checked. There has to be some internal regulation within the media to say if you are saying something without evidence, then what are the repercussions of that? And the media should decide itself.
Talk us through the investigation itself, Kunalji. When the news of the blast first came to you, and then Mr. Dadwal, who was the Commissioner of Police, you mentioned very clearly in the book how you were constantly giving him updates. There was a political side to it, and there was the straightforward police investigation side to it. Would you say this was one of the finest investigations that you spearheaded?
Yes, because the evidences were not very clearly coming. So there were 2 evidences. One is that 3 phone numbers which were used by the terrorists, and they have not spoken to anybody else except within themselves. Second information which came on around 18th afternoon, was that 13 people traveled after causing blast in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, by Rajdhani to Delhi. Now these 2 information clubbing and finding out the evidences and going towards possible place where terrorists may be there indicates the fine investigation done by the special cell team, and particularly Mr. Mohan Chand Sharma.
So when you started putting all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together, and you mentioned about how one of the terrorists actually reached a news channel and wanted to surrender, wanted to be arrested from the news channel. Talk us through that moment, sir. How did that play out for you?
See, I was sitting in the special cell office at that time, and our team was questioning Saif, who was arrested from the Batla House. And then I got a call from media saying that Jishan has come to the media. He claims himself to be innocent. We are conducting the interview. Would you like to send your team if you need him?
Hmm.
The question in my mind was why they wanted that man to be arrested from the media, because it will create a lot of issues.
Hmm.
And therefore I decided that we will not pick him up from that place. And I sent the team nearby that media house. So one has to think what are the possibilities, what are the repercussions of any action in advance.
How did you feel, sir? On one hand, you were busy conducting these investigations, you're interrogating the key accused. And then on the other, when this news reaches to you, when senior leaders like Kapil Sibal, Salman Khurshid, they all went to the location, and Mr. Khurshid in his book has spoken about this as well, that this Batla House encounter, it raised so many questions for him in his mind, and he happens to be a lawyer as well. He went to meet Sonia Gandhi, and Sonia Gandhi supposedly had tears in her eyes. Supposedly, he debunks the theory. But when this whole narrative was playing out, and on one hand, you are dealing with the loss of your own people, and on the other, there are tears being shown by politicians. Did it make you feel very demotivated, discouraged at that time?
See, it gives a lot of anguish. And that I mentioned in my book, that even my subordinates, they came to me and they were feeling quite agitated that they are working for the nation, they are working against the terrorist. One officer lost his life, that is Mohan Sharma. Head Constable Balwant got bullet injury. Head Constable, he got 2 bullets hit at his chest. He was wearing bulletproof jacket. Because of that, he survived. Even after that, you say that the encounter is fake. How is that possible? Nobody can think of. And then you are coming up with the evidences which were non-existent. There's a lot of anguish one feels about it.
Tell me, sir, look at from 2008 to 2020. We've seen on multiple occasions, whenever a police encounter takes place, it's almost as if the process of what unfolds post the encounter is as tedious as the process of the encounter itself taking place. As a police officer who served so many years in the police establishment, do you think we need to have a proper, well-defined, transparent protocol? Is that possible? Is that possible to be implemented?
See, that is possible. And I mentioned in my book about that. Because today there are a large number of inquiries possible. Like I mentioned, there is SDM inquiry, there is NHRC inquiry, there is an inquiry by the independent police unit about it. In this case, even the Minority Commission asked the report. Why so many inquiries? And then you say judicial inquiry is also required. The NHRC itself, the committee which conducted the inquiry, had one retired Justice of the Supreme Court, one retired Chief Justice of High Court, and 2 retired senior officers. So such a big inquiry committee, and you say you don't believe in this inquiry committee. See, I feel that there should be only one setup which should go into the inquiry and then should come out with the report. And only after that report comes out, then there could be the criminal case registered. If something wrong has been done, we should proceed further. But initially, there should be one all-encompassing inquiry, and there should be some committee formed, permanent committee formed for that purpose.
The special cell of the Delhi Police has done some exemplary work, whether it is under you or your subsequent officers. IPL fixing, terror activities, everything has been handled by the special cell. Yet, it appears that the special cell has often suffered from a perceptional credibility crisis. Why is this that perceptional credibility crisis exists, sir, about the special cell of the Delhi Police?
See, the perceptional credibility crisis exists not only for the special cell, but for all units of the police organizations, whether in Delhi or other places. And this perception has to be improved. And this is not because of the encounter itself. It is because of various factors. See, when police deals a subject or any case, there are 2 sides to it. One side is a victim, one side is an accused. So you'll never get 100% perception of the people. 50% is already gone. And in the remaining part also, some people may not be satisfied because of the investigation process. So that is the reason the police perception itself is not good, and we have to look into how perception can be improved.
How do you respond, sir, when when I was talking about the case of this dreaded gangster Vikas Dubey in UP, when he was being brought to UP, he gets encountered. When this rapists in Hyderabad, when they were being taken to court, they get encountered. Are you getting a sense that there is greater legitimacy, greater justification today, which is being provided by the society at large, not just the police person, but by the society at large, to get rid of such people? And is that something that you support?
Yeah, I agree that society feels that justice should come fast. Today in our country, the justice is delayed. And justice delayed is no justice, basically, ultimately. There is a feeling in the society, but I do not agree and I do not support anything which is wrong. And therefore, the law provides police officer to open fire only under two circumstances. The one is self-defense, that is the section 100 of IPC. And another is section 44 of CRPC, where if somebody who is involved in a criminal case where the punishment could be the life imprisonment or the death penalty, then police can open fire in order to apprehend him.
Lastly, sir, you were telling me that you are now busy with teaching as well. You're teaching students. You're taking classes at the law college. When you speak to young officers or young investigators, do you look at Batla House case as a great example of how you could have did a fantastic investigation, but that fantastic investigation creates such a huge perceptual problem, political problem? How does one deal with it? Do you give any tips to your students, sir?
Certainly, even while I was in service and young officers used to come to me, I used to brief them about what are the pitfalls in their working, what precautions they have to take, how the integrity is to be maintained. And when I talk to the students in college or universities, I rest into the subject, and then I give examples from various topics. Maybe the Naxalism, the Northeast insurgencies, the criminal cases, or one goes because of 34 years of service. One has so much experience, and if you give live experience to those people, the absorption of the subject is better.
So now that you've written this book also, sir, and there's been so much of water, so much of time which has passed since then. When you look at this, when you look at your investigation and you put it in the context of the political furor, do you feel 2008 Batla House encounter was a great example where politicians let down the police force?
I cannot say that the politicians let down the police force, because there were only handful of politicians who were against that. The system was not against. The large section of politicians were not against. But I feel that even now there is no political consensus on terrorism, and that is required.
Why do you feel that there is no political consensus on terrorism? Isn't India becoming a more muscular state now?
See, the reason being, without understanding the case, without understanding what has happened, the politicians of different sections start speaking differently. So if there is a political consensus, first they will try to find out really what has happened, and then they will speak about this. That's what my purpose of telling that there is no political consensus is there.
Okay. Understood, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Great pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. Welcome.